Okay, coming at you from the 517, this is Noah, and approximately 93 miles away from the 734 is Josh, who I can only assume is using his piece of shit computer.
Indeed, I am. That's all I got.
Alright, Josh, what are we talking about today?
Today, we're going to be talking about animals in war.
Animals in war, animals at war, these animals fighting each other.
Animals at war, that would be quite the documentation if we had that, but there's only few.
Lions, tigers, and bears.
There's the ant
Old
war.
Coliseum, ant wars, those fuckers are always going at it.
Man, that's a classic right there. Movies should be made out of ant wars.
I forget, for the sake of monetization, we probably shouldn't cuss so early on, but you know what? Fuck it.
You know what? That's one way to get demonetized.
Yeah,
Not that we're
really
getting
early
any
on,
anyway.
because somebody somewhere has to watch at least the first 5 minutes of this to make sure that it's all appropriate.
Anyway,
Regardless, not the point of this topic.
really not.
So yeah, animals in war, and they're not always used to fight things. Early on, they were just for carrying food, weapons, supplies, messages.
Big fan of the message pigeons.
Yeah, even dogs delivered messages, and horses could go by themselves occasionally. And then you gotta ride the elephants, you gotta ride the camels, you gotta get around real quick.
I'm asking
Animals
this
really
more as
shape.
What's that?
But what were you saying?
I was saying, do you? I'm asking this as a question, but do you know how pigeons are like trained to go to where the senders want them to go, and that they come back to wherever the senders are? I just don't know. Never read into that.
I feel like that should have been something you researched for this.
It's
But
just it just now came to mind.
anyway, they build their nest, and then they kind of have this whole homing thing where they know exactly where their nest is. So you can carry the pigeon to a different location. So like you have to transport it there, and then they will know where their nest is. So wherever they nested, they will be able to fly back to, but they can't like fly back and forth.
That's cool. Pigeons get a bad rap. They poop on a lot of things, but that's pretty cool.
Well, since we're talking about pigeons, I was gonna get to this one later, but we're on the subject of pigeons. Uh, World War One and World War Two, British used over 100,000 pigeons
Jesus.
in their service for the purposes of delivering messages. And Genghis Khan also, during his whole Mongol Empire thing, had a very elaborate pigeon system that covered roughly a sixth of the world.
I love it. I had a pigeon.
Because
you continue yours. It's odd that we're first topic's pigeons.
Well, they were used in war, and that was their main thing.
But we just both have
messages. I mean, sure, we both have a thing, but we both researched this. I'm sure you also have like the CIA and Navy stuff.
A little bit
using all their stuff. But Genghis Khan had this very elaborate pigeon system because he controlled like all of Asia and a little bit of Europe, and he just needed to like say some stuff. And of course, he used horses to completely conquer all of Asia.
That's one of the most insane human accomplishments I think that's ever been. That'll never happen again. Like, that could never happen again.
Well, of course not. Different times,
but like a sixth of the world.
He was just too good. He had an OP build.
I don't remember the numbers exactly, mainly because this was not part of this podcast topic, but like, what's the percentage of like people in Asia that are like related to him because how many like kids he had?
I know what you're talking. It's
an insane number.
I thought it was like 1% of the world's population is directly related to him, or something like that.
That's crazy.
But those numbers are probably wrong, and I didn't look into that.
Not important, but yeah, that's Genghis Khan, man. He could use pigeons. He's having kids with everybody.
Yeah, and he had this whole horse thing going, and it really helped him out.
It could be a direct correlation to his pigeon use and his kid making, just a theory, but
I don't think that has any correlation at all.
Doesn't hold any water.
No. I mean, maybe there's some sort of spurious correlation there. Like, maybe there's a positive something, but I don't think they're related in any way.
What if he sent
I don't
his
think.
messages to his lovers with pigeons? So he's just sending thousands of pigeons, and they're not military related. They're just going to his lovers.
You see, Josh, making the assumption that he kept in contact with these women, I'm pretty sure he just went around raping people.
Yeah.
He didn't exactly have wives.
What is the latest use of pigeons in the military?
The
Like
latest, I'm pretty sure they still use pigeons in more remote areas.
Like I assume World War II used pigeons. I feel like that's a given.
Oh yeah, well that I mentioned that they used hundreds of thousands of pigeons.
Oh, I thought you said World War One.
World War One and World War Two, they used hundreds of thousands of
Okay.
pigeons. But only 32 of those pigeons managed to receive medals for their hard work.
That's a shame. All right.
It really is, because those fuckers work really hard.
They covered thousands
there's
of
one.
miles.
Yeah, there's one pigeon, Cherami, I believe is how you pronounce its name. It got shot like 3 different times and still managed to deliver its message.
What medal did he get, or she?
I have no idea.
What kind of medals do pigeons get? I hope
You
they
know,
get
I
medals of
can't.
honor.
I don't think they do, but I think there is probably a specific one for animals.
Okay. I know, like,
Because there is.
animals can receive like the same medals as humans. I don't think they just are limited to the
I
animal
think.
medals.
I think they can only get those if they are classified as a soldier and not an animal.
Okay. Pigeons don't fit that.
Because there's a. I don't know how they're classified, but I think World War II Polish army had a bear in their service, and they classified it as a soldier, and I think it got some medals, even though all it did was deliver ammo.
But I thought he was like at least the mascot of the thing. I didn't know he did
I think he was a
anything.
mascot for the regiment, but he also like delivered ammo while they were under fire. So I think they gave him a medal for that.
I feel like there was a better way than a giant black bear just roaming around the back of a firing ground. But
everyone's just like, "Holy shit, is that a bear? That's fucking awesome!"
I'm not gonna shoot at that bear. All right. I got a pigeon tail of my own.
Oh, wait, do you?
Yeah. Have you ever heard of Project Pigeon?
Project Pigeon. I have not heard of Project Pigeon.
They didn't even really try with this name, but so I think it was in like
not very creative.
No, it was like in the 40s, I believe. They some scientist had the idea of pigeon guided missiles. So they would make a missile with a little area for the pigeon to be inside the missile, and he would peck where he wanted it to go. Like he'd change the direction of the missile, which I think is stupid and bad. And just who thinks of that?
So there's so like I assume they're using this kind of like a homing thing, like wherever the pigeon taps, that's where the marker is. Is that what you're saying?
Wherever the pigeon taps is the direction that the bomb or missile will like lean. So like the pigeon is guiding the missile. It's pigeon guided missiles.
Okay, so is the pigeon like on the ground already, wherever they want the missile to go, and it's just tapping somewhere specific, or is there a missile attached to a pigeon here?
There's a pigeon attached to a missile.
It's a genuine pigeon attached to a missile.
Yeah, he's got like a little control room inside of the missile, and he just taps the direction, which it didn't work, obviously. I could have told you that beforehand.
But like, when you first described it, that's kind of what I was imagining, but I'm like, that doesn't make any sense, so it must be a pigeon that's just like laying down a tracer somewhere, like tapping on the side of a building. It's like, hey, that's where the missile's going.
Yeah, no, that'd make more sense if it was like the missile followed wherever the pigeon went, or like he left something behind that the pigeon would. Yeah, that makes sense, but we have this.
It would definitely make more sense, but then there's that one old man who's feeding pigeons in the park, and that pigeon shows up, and suddenly that missile just kills that old man.
Ruins it for everybody.
There's a crater in the middle of Central Park.
So think about it. If they want a pigeon to like stay in a certain place for said bomb, like thinking like a real tactical situation, they have to go there beforehand and probably like lay some sort of bait to keep him there. And that just doesn't seem practical for a war situation.
There's just a lot of logistical issues to this one, and I don't know what they were thinking.
I don't know why this was a militarily recognized project that they attempted. Project Pigeon? I mean, come on, man. They didn't give
It
it like a cool
didn't even have a
name
cool
either.
code name.
Right.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't even write any notes for it. I just wrote Project Pigeon is stupid and bad.
Yeah.
I remembered the rest. It's so dumb. I don't believe it fully. I just don't think it could be like this is a U.S. project though. It's not like I don't know. Austria-Hungary was trying to make the Ottoman Empire out here trying to make like a last-ditch effort. This is the U.S. military. No more pigeon talk. I think we ran out the pigeons.
Well, like, you
They
can
only
kind
have
of
so
keep
many
talking.
uses.
Mainly delivering things, but
There are accounts of
I
them
get
being described as using photographic espionage.
that is a thing that I also read that pigeons would
So
have
do they
like
just like
cameras on them.
yeah, they just strap a camera and like have it timed so it just takes pics every now and then.
Yeah, but like I said with the whole message carrying thing, they can only go to one place, so somehow you'd have to get them to go take a picture. You'd have to have their nest wherever you want them to take the picture, so it's kind of pointless.
Or if they like have someone receive it on the other side of wherever they're at and you just got to make sure everyone's in the loop on why this random pigeon with a camera strapped to it is landed on your
Well, I think the whole point would be to like spy on people that don't want to know that the pigeon's there. So if the people can obviously see that there's a camera on the pigeon, there's going to be a little confusion.
No, I mean like friendly. So like you send a pigeon up to go over an enemy like base or whatever, and maybe a few miles north of that, or probably a lot more miles than that, there's your other buddy. He receives said pigeon, the camera strapped to
Pigeons flying over enemy bases and stuff usually just get some shot out of the air.
it.
Because like that was a literal job back in like medieval times. It was just an archer who was looking for pigeons with messages, and that's why they had to send like 50 of the same pigeon with the same message going to one place
That's not
because
good for secrets.
they would all get shot out of the air.
Man, that guy had to be like a well, not that single guy, but like that guy shouldn't be shooting pigeons. He shouldn't be on pigeon duty. He should be like on the wall.
I mean, you had a whole bunch of people that were just shooting pigeons. And of course, there were also people on the wall that saw them and they're like, hey, I'm going to take this thing out. Do you have anything specific? We can just go through your stuff first if you want to.
The only other project I wrote down was the Navy Marine Mammal Program.
Navy Marine Mammal Program.
They
Didn't
actually
write that one down.
they tried this in the '90s. This is a U.S. program. You could tell from
Okay.
Navy Marine. They would like
Well,
this one made a little more
Navy.
sense than Project Pigeon, but in the end it didn't work out. They tried doing stuff with like sharks and trying to make them like suicide bombs. They would like strap like torpedoes, I guess. They would just kind of like put explosives on sharks and like hope they went towards what they wanted them to go to.
I don't know if the mammal part of their mission
No,
applies to sharks.
we're missing something there. They used dolphins for like recon and stuff. I guess that
Okay,
sort of
that's a
worked.
mammal.
That sort of worked, I guess, but the shark thing, that's Project Pigeon level.
Well, I know they trained dolphins and killer whales to carry explosives, and when they weren't carrying explosives in the Vietnam War, they would attack divers that were going up to boats and like planting explosives on them, and they'd have dolphins like patrolling around the area to try and kill them.
I'm trying to think of what it is that like maybe it's like Austin Powers. I never watched any of those movies, but you know he's got like the sharks with lasers, or whatever. I don't know. I just imagine like cartoon villains having dolphins or sharks going around the premises watching.
Yeah. All those evil lairs at their volcanoes.
Yeah.
Sharks with lasers and all that jazz.
It's Incredibles type stuff. But like worse.
I know they also used dolphins and stuff in the Gulf War also to attack divers and detect mines off the coast of Middle Eastern countries.
I saw use of sea lions too, and it didn't describe what they really did, but I don't know. I think that's a pretty limited use thing. They're not very mobile. Am I thinking of the right thing? Maybe I'm thinking of walruses.
I don't know how you would get walruses.
Sea lions, they don't move that good, right? No. They're pretty
Sea
large.
lions?
They're blubbery. They just lay on the beach. Walruses do that
Like
too, but sea lions do that a lot
I
too.
mean, they're just seals. They're pretty slippery. They're slick. They move pretty good.
I feel so bad strapping some explosives to a sea lion, though.
Well, it's worse when fucking Russians were training dogs to go out to German tanks with explosives and blow them up.
Yeah, it's not a good look for anybody either.
I feel worse killing a dog than I do a sea lion.
I think that's because we're just so accustomed to dogs, though. Like, the sea lion to us is a really exotic creature. We've only seen them in zoos.
So, in this research, the earliest case that I could find of animals being used in war and combat and stuff had nothing to do with live animals. They were just using bones of animals that they had killed as weapons against other people. But
what kind of time period we talking?
We're talking like cavemen.
Okay.
Like really early civilization type stuff.
Are there any, like, recorded caveman battles? Like, probably through, like, cave paintings and stuff, but, like, something we know, like, details of?
I wouldn't know anything about that, but I know in a future episode of this, when we do Living in the Most Peaceful Time in History, I have some stuff about prehistoric battles and deaths and stuff like that. But nothing that I know too much about right now. Anyway, back to early uses of animals. Soon, they would use the wolves and stuff that they had been killing as protection, and they started domesticating them. So, like, dogs were pretty early on in the uses for war and protection.
Makes sense.
After dogs, it was birds, horses. Strangely, from horses, it goes pretty much straight to elephants, which I find insane.
I think humans got, like, some big dick energy, and we're like, that horse is, like, twice the size, or more than twice the size of us, but let's try that elephant. Failed so many times, and they weren't pursuing anything else. Just gotta tame them.
Well, the way they usually got elephants was killing the parents and stealing a very young one, which is very depressing, of course.
Yeah.
But, Roman Empire, when they were being attacked by elephants, like, elephants were at their gates, the attacking army was just ready to sack their city, they would release pigs, like, out of their gates, and the pigs would be freaking out and the squealing would be so concerning to the elephants that they'd freak out, turn and run, and then trample the army.
Yeah, I read something about that. Did you know that sometimes they would set the pigs on fire and send them into the elephant herds?
Well, that's one way to get them to squeal, I guess.
Yeah, so we got, like, flaming, squealing pigs running at elephants and an army. I don't know.
It's scarier than
that's terrifying.
Any soldier I've ever seen.
Like, that heightens the squeal intensity so much that I think that humans are probably pretty scared of the pigs. Not just because they're on fire, but, like, the squeals of a pig's final breaths.
Animals have just really changed the way we kill each other.
Yeah. You know? People were getting creative back in, like, the first couple recorded centuries.
They had to. If you had animals, you were winning wars.
What do you think is the all-time most effective war animal?
Are we talking, like, course of history, what's made the biggest impact, or are we talking, like, one-time instance of a great animal?
Let's do one animal that you think is the most overall best use in war for any whatever reason, and then the best attack animal.
Well, horses, overall, gotta be number one.
Yeah, mobility's key.
Mobility and, like, mass numbers, because World War I, 8 million horses were killed, but, like, millions more were used in that effort. In, like, Civil War, 1 million horses died, but just everybody had a horse. Then there's the Mongol Empire, and they only got through conquering everything because they had so many horses and bow and arrow. And it was just huge takeover because they had horses.
Well, yeah, think of any, like, conflict in the last, I don't know, up until probably the last 100 years. Anyone on a horse in a fight was, like, elite status. That's the cavalry, you know? They got the height advantage, they got, man, they're set.
Even today, people still use horses because they're better mobility, and mules and donkeys, too. But, like, jeeps and stuff couldn't get up a mountain, horses still could, so they ride them up because it was faster.
Okay, what you got for the best attack animal?
Few animals really ever used to like attack things. Dogs, I guess, would have to be because as awful it is as it is, they could still strap a bomb to them and send them out to war.
It's terrible.
But like, even early humans, like the Romans too, would train their dogs and hook them up with like spiked collars and stuff and send them out into battle, and they do some damage out there too. But I can't think of anything else that really attacks. Everything else is more utility for carrying things.
Yeah, and that's something that you can like control at least. Like I know some like of the older civilizations attempted like lion taming, but to no avail.
Yeah, I mean that's why they had them in the Colosseum, because they couldn't really tame them to do anything else, but they could capture them still and have them fight gladiators.
Yeah, defenseless people, just throw them against the lions. I don't know why I wrote this down, but I know I got down the wormhole when I was doing it. Falling coconuts kill 150 people each year worldwide, and I don't know how we got there, but...
I mean, I guess we could do a different series on plants in war, because that's certainly not an animal.
You know, it starts...
It literally falls outside of the kingdom.
It starts 50 years in advance. Normandy Beach, you know, in the 1800s, they were planting coconut trees all over that beach. Because when the soldiers came, they'd be relying on those coconuts to come down.
I mean, I think that's what the helmets were for. They weren't stopping bullets, they were stopping coconuts, right?
I don't think any of them really stop bullets at all, so obviously it's coconuts.
I mean, I feel like a few glancing bullets that would have, like, taken off.
If it wasn't a direct shot, it was bouncing.
Yeah, glancing blows.
I suppose that's enough to wear it. I don't know why I wrote this down, but it's there.
What else do you have written down that's animal related?
Well, I wrote down a bunch of animals that were used in some of their uses.
But, like, no specific anything.
Have you read that dead rats were sometimes used as bombs?
I don't know about dead rats.
Kind of makes sense, I guess. Like, if you got a bomb, like, that's not a grenade, strap it to a dead rat and toss it over. Boom,
well, you know about the rats in World War I?
What about them?
After a huge battle and, like, stopping for the night, soldiers would wake up and they'd be being chewed on by rats because there were just thousands of rats eating the dead bodies that hadn't been recovered. And they would usually just completely consume down to the bone because there was nothing stopping them.
That's horrifying.
Yeah, because they were just thousands and thousands of rats eating people. And, like, people that hadn't even died yet, or just were wounded or missing a leg or whatever,
right,
couldn't get back to their trench, were being consumed by rats. Unrelated note, it's a serial killer who found, it was kind of a related note, I guess, but I don't remember what his name is, but he was like a mafia contract killer, and he found this cave, or tunnel or whatever, and it was just infested with rats, and that's where he would leave his victims. And then they would be eaten down to the bone.
It's one way to hide a body, I mean, just gotta take care of the bones.
That's just one way to get rid of a body.
Yeah. Like, there's no evidence besides the bones, and that's manageable. I know towards the end of World War I, they were using, like, cats and dogs to, like, do trench pest control, but dogs probably don't have much interest in rats.
Yeah, I'm sure the cats did some damage. Made a little bit of a dent.
Imagine, like, the shipping containers coming in for, like, supplies for soldiers. It's just, like, crates of cats.
Got another shipment. Stray cats.
Like, there's no way all of those were trained. They just kind of sent them into the trench. I mean...
Oh, they couldn't have been.
They probably wouldn't leave because they have a food source, but, like, that can't be fun for the soldiers to deal with. Just dozens of cats and dogs running around. Just, they're not really doing anything besides looking for things to eat.
I have another sad fact about dogs if you want to hear it.
I'm down to hear it.
So, U.S. used dogs to, like, seek out bombs in Vietnam. and many were killed, like, doing their job, looking for bombs and stuff, but when they decided to pull out of the war, there were so many dogs, either had to sell them off because they couldn't ship them home, or they thought they were too dangerous to be shipped home, like, wouldn't be able to find them anywhere to live there, or they just killed them.
Oh no. I like that some of them are too dangerous to be shipped home.
Well, yeah, like, that's what I read, which is, like, they feared that they had trained them too well in, like, to attack things, that it wouldn't be safe to bring them back to the mainland.
What's the best breed for war dog? Probably German Shepherd.
Probably, but I think for that specific Vietnam thing I was talking about, they just kind of used any dogs they could find and train easily. So, like, even mutts were used and things from the pound.
Got some chihuahuas running around Vietnam. He's too dangerous to be bringing back.
Those little teacup dogs. Yeah. This one's gonna get you.
He's too dangerous to be kept alive. Imagine Lucas, getting attacked by his little dog. There's some Vietnam soldier out there who got attacked by a little dog.
There's a little chihuahua that just killed several men.
It's a bloody rabbit again.
Oh yes, the holy hand grenade.
Brother Maynard. Someone found that rabbit, brought him into their military. Should have been King Arthur.
Well, they killed it with the holy hand grenade.
Supposedly.
Well, they wouldn't have been able to go into the cave otherwise.
Such a pointless plot point.
Well, I think the whole movie was a pointless plot point, but it was funny, so it's fine.
You're right. The cartoon animation dragon running around. Luckily, the editor suffered a heart attack during the animation. You got any other projects?
I have another sad fact about dogs.
Man, you really went down that route, huh?
Honestly, just in the course of this research, a lot of sad things happen to dogs and other animals.
I don't think there's a whole lot of animal species in war that, probably have a good story. I mean, the fox was only used as a squadron mascot. It's kind of cool. That's a cool title. Good job, Fox.
Sure. Good for the fox.
Anyway.
But, anyway, Guatemalan Special Forces, known as the Cables, or Caballos. I don't really know how to pronounce it, but we're just going to keep running. There's no accents or anything, but whatever. In the course of their Special Forces training, they are required to raise a puppy, name it, bond with it, keep it company, keep it fed, and then they have to kill it.
Oh, God.
To complete their training.
I don't like that.
And I don't know about this one for sure, but I think the KGB does a similar thing with chickens, where they have to name it, care for it, feed it, and I think after a year they have to kill it and eat it.
At least that's kind of rewarding.
What? Raising a chicken that you grow to care and love a lot, and then eating it?
You get a dinner out of it, but
Well, the Guatemalans had to eat their dog.
Well, maybe as an American, that's a little harder to grip.
I don't think they wanted to eat the dog either. I mean, it's not a common meal.
A chicken is a pretty common meal. I think that one can
I think the KGB is a little bit softer than the Guatemalans, but
I'll give you that one. Gotta step up their game. Not to dogs. We don't need more dogs getting.
No. I think we've killed enough dogs through the course of this podcast.
Too many have fallen. I don't have this. I just know this one from memory, but watching Mysteries at the Museum one time. You ever seen that show?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was an American squadron, not a squadron, but a company in World War One, was getting gassed at night by enemy soldiers, and the company dog woke all of them up and made sure they got out of there, and they would have died without that dog. So good dog story.
It's like Lassie.
Yeah, War Lassie.
Timmy's stuck in a well again.
I never watched any episodes of that show. I don't know. I know Lassie was smart and everything, but was there any dumb humans could have done this rather easily, just the dogs with money?
I don't know. I feel like that one family that the dog always went back to just had it in their power to fix everything. So the dog was just like, hey, there's a fire at the mill. And they were like, oh, fuck.
Go do something about it.
I'm just a dog. You gotta fix this.
The only other like fact I had written down was 16 million animals served in the First World War, and I think that's too staggering.
Most of them being horses and pigeons. I'm pretty sure that's a hefty majority.
I think they counted
maybe
the rats.
A couple dogs. I doubt they counted the rats as being used.
Hey, we got at least one bear in there.
I mean, there's plenty of animals that are like collateral damage.
Yeah.
Because I guess you can consider the rats as part of that. They got bigger because war was going on, they had more food, and they could breed easier. But then there's also Vietnam. We destroyed a whole bunch of forests and habitats, and migrating birds wouldn't land there anymore, so insects and stuff went rampant. So mice and rats and all that shit. Same thing with Iraq, everything, all the bombing and stuff there made it so anything that would have migrated through there didn't, so then there's more insects and more rats.
How come parasites and like insects have never been like war utilized? I think that should have at least like had
I'm
some
sure
sort of
there's some
significance.
research. I want to do another episode on this for medical testing on animals during military times. Because while I was looking into this, there's a lot of stuff that would go into that.
Do you have an example? Like maybe not like a highbrow one, just like a, I don't know, some sort of story about it.
There's kind of one. It's really stupid, and it's not a substantiated claim, but supposedly the United States hired a company to create a portable nuclear bomb that they would attach on a cart to a mule, and
Boy.
they would. It sounds really stupid, but it was in a book I read, so I'm bringing it up.
Alright.
Anyway, they would attach this nuclear bomb to a mule, and then supposedly they would use electrodes on the mule's brain to control where it went. So I think their plan was just to have a mule carrying a nuclear bomb going around the Middle East. And that just sounds like a great idea to me.
It's like the Google car.
Yeah.
But with a mule. With a nuke.
But with a mule, with a nuclear bomb.
Isn't it just easier to fly over and drop it? Maybe there's like...
I would think so too, but this like I said, is not a substantiated claim, so maybe it's not true, but it was in a book I read.
Like, maybe they're trying to eliminate, like, witnesses do, like, you know, that was a U.S. plane that flew over and dropped the bomb, but, like, with a nuke, there's only, like, 4 options.
That mule looks like it came from the United States to me.
Listen to its whinny. Sounds American.
It's whinny. It's neigh.
It's a neigh. You're right. It's a neigh.
Well, they whinny. It's whatever.
Okay, I'll accept that. Mystery.
We snaw.
That was terrible. What do you think about monkey utilization in wars? I don't think it's really been done much, but like...
Only thing I really know about monkeys is they go through a lot of psychological tests, and...
They'll tear your face off, man.
Yeah.
They can't.
They're also
I feel
better
like in war they wouldn't be aggravated enough to like tear someone's face off that wasn't like immediately in front of them.
I think they'd probably shoot at it and kill it pretty quick, 'cause it's a monkey.
Think of like legions of monkeys just pulling up though.
I'm sure there's been like some gorilla units in like India or something.
Oh.
GOR, not GUE. Gorilla.
I'm just imagining like 6 gorillas like traveling in like a squadron on the ground, and like one of them has like some sort of hat or helmet of stature, like he's the leader. He's like just making random grunts to tell them where to go.
You know, maybe this was an idea, and then somebody watched the movie Planet of the Apes, and they're like, you know what, maybe we shouldn't give the apes guns. Maybe that's a bad idea.
Oh, so they're taking the safe route, you know. They're thinking of hypotheticals. Right. Maybe the military is smarter than we think.
Somebody's got to be thinking of these hypotheticals.
The director of that movie.
This was a warning.
Actually, not even the director of that movie. The director of the original creator. Because that movie's from like the 70s or something. There's like an original one.
Yeah, I know, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay. The recent ones are more.
Not the remakes with James Franco.
Alright, well, you got anything else on Animals at War? We've hit about like 45 minutes.
I mean, I got some more stuff. It's all sad stuff again.
That's
but,
fine. That's what we're here for. I don't think there's a happy side.
The first. Hang on. Do you want the fun fact about elephants, or do you want the sad fact about elephants? I'm gonna give you both of them, but which one do you want first?
Let's start out sad.
You want sad first?
Yeah.
So, during Vietnam, it's always during Vietnam.
Back in now.
U.S. troops would fly over with airplanes and helicopters and deliberately kill elephants because they thought that the Vietnamese would use them to build infrastructure and effectively just use them against the United States somehow.
That ain't xenophobia.
Yeah. Whether it be clearing forests or, like, building bridges or whatever, they're just like, we gotta kill these elephants so the Vietnamese can't use them.
Ah, yes, people can't do these tasks. We get rid of the elephants, we get rid of their housing infrastructure.
I don't know what the thinking was behind it. They're like, gotta kill the elephants.
It sucks that was in, like, the 60s, though, not, like, 200 years ago.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thinking I'd expect from, like, Civil War leaders, but the South wasn't even smart enough to get rid of our rail systems. What's the happy elephant?
The slightly more uplifting fact about elephants comes from World War II and the British Army. They maintained a company of 700 elephants in Burma. They were under Lieutenant Colonel Williams, otherwise known as Elephant Bill, and they were mostly used for labor and clearing forests, building bridges, shit like that. And apparently, those elephants influenced the Burma government to continue to use them, at least through 2010, to aid in infrastructure. So the elephants are sticking around. We're not killing all of them deliberately.
You think there's any, like, British Burma elephants that were, like, mercenaries? They're like, yeah, we're gonna go head up to Vietnam here in the next few years. I hear some good work.
So, all these things with animals eventually get them rewards and stuff. There was a Labrador in 2010 that was given a medal for locating bombs in Afghanistan. And there is an entire memorial dedicated specifically to animals in Hyde Park, London, commemorating all animals that have died in British war.
It's gotta be a lot.
Yeah, it's a very sad-looking image of, like, two horses walking through a wall, and their heads are hung low, and they're, like, carrying cannons, or, like, the wheels.
It just can't be a fun place to be.
It looks very interesting. I'll probably use it for the thumbnail for this.
I'm sure there's some good, like, reading material there, but I feel like, overall, there's no happy tone there.
I mean, probably not. Like, it looks like a very sad scene, but so is most of, like, the memorials in Washington.
But, like, think about, like, the vibe at Arlington. I feel like at Hyde Park it's even worse, and that's...
I mean, it's not, like, a huge memorial like it is in Arlington. Like, it's not a bunch of grounds. It's just, like...
Just a dedication type thing, but yeah.
40 yards square. Well, animals and war. Very sad topic. Very depressing.
Yeah, no good stories, really.
Whether you're blowing up dogs, dolphins, donkeys, or camels, it's just not fun, and you should stop doing it.
Just be sure to take out the elephant.
For some reason, be sure to take out the elephants, because apparently they're just too damn good. They're too strong of a build for anyone to handle.
Too useful.
Unless you have burning pigs, in which case they'll run in terror.
The ultimate military weapon. Nukes, planes, submarines,
burning
step
pigs.
aside, burning pigs. Mantle, Ruth, Costanza.
Before we wrap it up, I got one more fact that I didn't. There's a lot of scribbles on my page. It's the only one I didn't mark off. World War I, they used glowworms to read maps when they didn't have, like, candlelight or anything. They'd use the light from glowworms to read and send signals to other people in the trenches.
What do you mean they'd send signals? Like, would they like cover? Say they got them in a jar. Would they like cover the jar?
Yeah, that's what I would assume. Like, if you had like a flashlight or something, you click it on every once in a while.
The
Like
guy
3
doing
clicks.
it. This is stupid.
Guys, what the hell are we doing? Where did we find these things?
Why are we fighting this war? All right. Well, that's a good note to end on.
Yeah. One simple little thing.
What are we on here? Episode 4?
This is episode 4. Anyway, this has been Blindside Podcast.
Shit, we didn't
episode
open
4.
the name of our podcast.
No, we didn't. We always end with it for some reason. Animals at War episode. And